Hello and welcome to the Record Club, brought to you by Record Store Day, the official chart and National Album Day, and proudly in association with Bowers and Wilkins. My name is Jess Iszatt. Thank you so much for joining us. We are very excited to say that our guest this evening is Billy Bragg to talk all about the brand new album, The Million Things That Never Happened. If you are new to the Record Club, we're going to be spending the next half an hour talking to Billy about the brilliant new record, and then we'll be putting some of your questions forward for him to answer. So if there is anything that you'd like to know about the new record, whether it be about a certain song, maybe it's the artwork, maybe a particular lyric that you've enjoyed, make sure to put that question in the comment section below, and we'll be getting to them in the second half of our chat. On top of that, one lucky person who gets their question answered today will be randomly selected to win a pair of Bowers & Wilkins PX7 over-ear noise cancelling headphones. Honestly, you don't want to miss out, so make sure to get involved with the questions. And also, if you haven't already, make sure to pre-order that new album and get it at your local record store ASAP. Definitely get involved with that once our chat with Billy's over. Of course, you can get the CD now as well. So let's get straight into it, shall we? This week's Record Club with Billy Bragg. Hello.
Hello, Jess.
Hello,
I'm sorry
Jess.
we're late.
I'm sorry we're late, everyone.
I'm here in a hotel room in Dublin, trying to work out if my phone or the hotel Wi-Fi is better. But I mean, this is like video calling one another in the future. We should be so excited that it even happens. We take it for granted, don't we? But so apologies for everyone for being late.
I know, crazy. Well, better late than ever, right?
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Okay, so we do actually start things with a record store question that has been sent to us. One of the many amazing independent record stores across the UK has got involved, and this week's question comes from Badlands Record Store in Cheltenham. Billy, they've asked, The Million Things That Never Happened is your first pandemic blues album. How have the last 2 years changed you as a musician?
Well, I think they've made me a little bit more focused on empathy. It's something I've always been written about. In my politics, I've always had, people know my leftist politics. I've always really been about empathy, about the idea of the common good. But I think the experience of the pandemic has made us all understand how important that notion of the common good really is. I mean, we all practice it, when we put out our recycling, we're standing out in the rain on a Wednesday night where I live. I don't know what night it is where you live, Jess. Putting your cardboard in one bin and your bottles in the other, and it's raining. It's not for your benefit, but in the long term, it's for the common good. I think the pandemic has brought home that idea that there is a common good, and that when times are difficult, we need to lean a little bit that way. So the album I've tried to write the album not about the pandemic, but with the pandemic as the backdrop. And so the empathy that I've often found myself talking about a lot about recently has kind of like gone right through the whole album. I mean, the key track on the album is probably I Will Be Your Shield, which is, as it says, an offer not just to physically shield someone, but to emotionally, to mentally shield someone. So it's quite very much in keeping with my early work. I mean, it's really although it don't sound nothing like it, it's really a rewrite of The Milkman of Human Kindness, which is the first track on my first album was about empathy. And the last track on my latest album is about the same thing. So apart from the fact that my hair parts a different way now, which it didn't before the pandemic, my hair got so long, it took on a mind of its own. I don't buy a newspaper anymore. I now read it all on my tablet. This is something. I've stopped wearing a watch.
We've gone digital.
No, nothing at all now. I don't know what happened. The biggest thing, though, that I learned during the pandemic is that having been forced to be off the road for 18 months, me and my partner really do like each other, and I'm really pleased about that.
That's a relief.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, because you never know, do you? Because I think it's the longest I've been at home since we got together. I mean, apart from the year our boy was born, and that, you can't really count that year because you're playing past the baby. So yeah, it kind of. But I'm really pleased to be back out and playing.
Who were you in with? Was it just you and your partner? Do you have a pet?
It was my partner, and she has a compromised immune system, so I've had to proper shielding her. Initially, we were in a very fortunate position because we live on a beach, and the local farm shop was delivering food. Her son, who lived locally, would pop in the supermarket for us and come to the back door and sort of leave stuff, and we'd sort of shout at him in the garden. So we've had quite a shielded couple of years, really. But now I'm out on the road, so I'm having to do the protocols. You know, it's a weird thing to say. Who would imagine Billy Bragg would say, you know, the first thing I do when I wake up in a hotel room is stick something up my nose. It's not a very Billy Bragg thing, is it? But I do me rapid flow test every morning before I brush my teeth, which I then have to take a photo of the result and send to my tour manager, who has to send it to the venue so that we can go and do the gig. And
I feel like there's lots of us who need to do that at this moment. It sounds very responsible, not very rock and roll.
No, but the thing is, I mean, we're doing shows in England, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland last night. I'm now in the Irish Republic. All 4 or 5 of those countries have different protocols. I mean, for instance, today I went for a really spot of lunch in Dublin. I had to show my NHS international vaccine pass and my driving license to prove that's who I was. Now, that's the first time I've had to do that much, but, you know, masking up in Wales, everyone seems to be wearing masks inside, and in Northern Ireland yesterday as well. So it's an interesting tour. It's a weird time to be touring, you know, but it's really interesting as well, because, as I say, it kind of when I see people wearing masks, I think, well, at least they're thinking of other people. It gets back to empathy again.
This is true. I have to say big ups to Badlands Record Store for their question. I will say, though, they put, it's your first pandemic blues album. I'm hoping there's not going to be another pandemic.
That's right. Yeah.
So hopefully first and only. But there we go. And you mentioned, obviously, you're on tour. So how did you celebrate the release of the album?
Well, we kind of, you know, we're playing a set which has quite a few songs from the new record in. We kind of vary which ones we put in every night. Try and mix it up with, you know, classic Bragg songs and a few songs from our back catalogue that I haven't played for a while, to make it a varied show. But I'm trying, it's a bit of a different show, really, rather than being a sort of classic Billy Bragg, what we call chop and clang, which is my sort of guitar style on my solo songs. It's a lot more of a kind of, you know, song, which is hard in a place like the Sage or the Ulster Hall last night, but it is possible to, by, you know, playing more intimate songs to draw people in. A song like I'll Be Your Shield is a very intimate song, so it seems to be working. The audience last night in Belfast were really great. They cheered in all the right places and they listened intently in all the right places, so you can't ask for more than that from an audience.
Yeah, I was going to say, and how did The Million Things That Never Happened, how did that song become the title of the album?
Well, it was kind of the last song I wrote. I had the idea of the song, but I didn't have a tune that could convey what I wanted to say. And the song itself is a series of examples of snapshots of things that didn't happen, and everything from the trivial to Two Lovers Meet in the Park, where it starts, all the way to you know, a hug for the crying and a kiss for the dying at the end, you know, that reflects the things that we haven't been able to do during the last 18 months, some of which are relatively trivial social things, but some of which are very deep emotional things. So when it came together at the very end, it's the only song on the album that really addresses the pandemic directly. And I just thought it was a way, by using that as the title, at least gives people a hint about what the record is about.
Do you have, I know this is always a really tricky one to ask, but do you have a favourite on this record?
That's a tricky one to ask, Jess, that one. You know,
not meant to ask it, but I do.
I always say, I normally get out of this by saying, it's always the last song I write. I suppose for its position in the set, I mean, I keep coming back to I'll Be Your Shield. It does seem to be having an effect on audiences. It's the one that people most email me about. So it's really done its job. But I also have a song, a bit of a tongue-in-cheek song, about the role of the internet, called A Million Things. 10 Mysterious Photos That Can't Be Explained, which is about how distracting the internet can be. And that's, as I say,
feel like I know that this is like a link or something, isn't it? That you just like a clickbait.
It was exactly that. It was actually a video on YouTube that kept appearing at the bottom of, you know, that list I have down the right hand side of the screen. And I kept looking at it and thinking, they won't be mysterious. They'll be easily explained. I'm not even going to go there. But the fact it wouldn't go away, and eventually seeped into my consciousness, and I wrote this damn song about it, and it seems to work. And also I co-wrote it with my son, which is great. It's the first time, you know, he's been writing songs for a long time. Jack Valero's his name, and we wrote that one together. So it's quite a special song for both of us.
I was gonna say, after hearing that you guys worked together on that, do you think you'll be getting back in the studio with him again or
Well, I
writing
really
with him
enjoyed it.
again?
Yeah, I'd love to. I really would love to. You know, it's great to have your kid being something that you're really into. I feel very, very lucky in that, and especially for it to be something really creative, like making music. Because I think when he was growing up, he was really into the Ramones, and you know, if he had a bad day at school, he would come home and he would go upstairs and plug his guitar in and play those songs really loud. And I would think to myself, you know, he's dealing with the day today. He's
Mm.
finding a way to thrash out what's happened to him, because music has a way of helping you to momentarily sort of transcend your surroundings. Because I think when he was up there doing that, he wasn't in his parents' front bedroom in Dorset. He was at CBGB's with the brothers in his head. You know, he was in a different place, and I think knew that for you. So it's great to see him do that and be able to do that. And you know, he's got a gig tonight in Manchester. I'm really proud of him.
Oh, are you guys alike? Are you quite similar? Is he growing up to be like you?
If he were here, he'd be spitting nails to you say that. But yeah, of course, we are a bit similar. But you know, he's kind of he has a more modern way to make records. When he came to the studio on the day that he came, it was live music day. That's why I invited him, and he was really surprised that we actually stood in the room all together and played it at the same time. So that's not how he's made records with his band before. So that was a bit of a lesson for him. But yeah, I'd like to think he's an improvement on what I do, because he's definitely a better guitar player than me. So I think he's the next model. You know, he's the. I wouldn't say he's like Billy Bragg. I wouldn't dare say that. That's not fair to him. But he as a singer-songwriter, he's much more contemporary.
Nice. Which track on this album?
So I missed the start of that, Jess. I'm sorry.
Which track on the album went through the most change from start to finish?
Oh, I would say probably Good Days and Bad Days, which initially was quite a simple demo, and then I was working with Romeo Stoddart and Dave Izumi, and I couldn't actually go to the studio when we booked the time in December because of the lockdown. So I just sent them my demos, and they generally, you know, built an entire new song based on my demos with some arrangements. But with Good Days and Bad Days, they actually kept part of my demo. So the verse parts where it's just me and the guitar, that's just me in my office at home actually in the lockdown, and they thought it was so evocative of the lockdown. And as the song is kind of about, you know, how you get your mental health together, they thought it really was quite fitting. When I first heard it, I was a bit, oh, I'm not sure about that. But fortunately, my partner was there, and she's a bit of a straightener, and she's like, no, that really works. So yeah, we kept it like that, and I'm pleased we did.
You know, I actually think on a first listen, I always sort of have an immediate favorite, and Good Days and Bad Days is it's yeah, I think it's still there as my favorite actually. It just felt so relatable, and I think maybe part of that is it being so kind of intimate the way it's recorded, but then like you said, it kind of deals with mental health, and if you're going through some good days and some bad days. Um, I feel like there's a moment where the chorus comes in and it makes it feel hopeful. Was that on purpose? Because it kind of made it uplifting rather than just like a really sad song.
If a Billy Bragg song doesn't make you feel hopeful, it's not a Billy Bragg song. I'm not here to make people feel down. I'm not here to point fingers at people who are in trouble. I'm not here to punch down. You know, Woody Guthrie said a great thing. You know, he didn't want to write songs that put people down. I mean, I write songs that put some people down, obviously Tories and racists and misogynists. But when I'm dealing with ordinary emotions, I had to lift. You know, those voices had to come in and lift up. Because I think, you know, we all go, you know, however we feel, we all go through those periods where our confidence takes a knock. We start to question the things that we've all taken for granted. All of us do that, and some people get in get through it and manage to find a way out. But some people get stuck in a bit of a downward spiral. And I think obviously the lockdown has left some people in not just physical isolation but social isolation as well. But you know, if they haven't been to work or haven't been in the workplace or the college or wherever. So I wanted to reflect a little bit of that. You know, something my partner said. You know, she said, you know, if they just even out the good days and the bad days, I could deal with this. And I thought, you know, that's a really good basis for a song that, you know, addresses the issue without being, over sentimental about it. You know, just kind of asking for a bit of parity.
Well, I thank your partner for that, because I've been like seeing that loops in my head like the whole time, and I just, I feel like I really felt it.
Thank you.
And I know that obviously people looking after their mental health is something that people are putting lots of importance on at the moment, which is quite rightly so. Do you have your sort of own coping mechanisms that you have for yourself?
Yeah, I try to. I try to get out and have a walk every now and again. I'm fortunate. I live in a rural area and close to the sea, so I can do that. But when I'm on tour, it's the same. You know, if I can have some time to myself during the day, I'll just have a wander around and you know, just really, like, not really looking for anything. Maybe looking for coffee or a record store. I'm not really looking for them. You know, I've got enough records and I've got enough coffee, but just to get a bit of a, you know, I'm not spending my time just in a hotel room all day or in the van all day or at home all day. You know, I do try and do that. I think it's important to you know, keep your mind active and beyond the attractions of the internet. So yeah, I mean, it's not always possible. Sometimes the weather's rotten, or you don't, you know, you've got a cold or something. But yeah, I try and, you know, that's the one thing I do on tour. So it's like I walk my invisible dog. You know, I just come around the block a couple of times.
There is another song that stands out as one that I wanted to talk about, Mid-Century Modern. I feel like it was really refreshing to hear that you grow and learn and change with the times. Was there a particular turning point? Actually, I think I need to put this into a song rather than it just be a personal feeling.
Well, I wouldn't say it was the actual turning point, but over the last few years, I've become aware that the ideas that really formed my politics are quite old now. A woman came up to me in Boston after I did a show in Boston, and she said, "I really like that song Sexuality, but it's not very cutting edge, is it, to talk about having a friend who's gay? This is 2020, you know, it's like, surely, you know, you should be talking about the trans community. That's where the front line is." And I was like, "Yeah, you're actually right. You're absolutely." So I've actually tweaked the lyrics now for Sexuality. So instead of saying, just because you're gay, I won't turn you away. If you stick around, I'm sure we can find some common ground. I now sing, just because you're they, I won't turn you away. And if you stick around, I'm sure that we can find the right pronoun. Because, you know, when I wrote Sexuality, I was trying to create some allyship for the gay community and the lesbian community at the time was suffering through AIDS and with the restrictions from Section 28, the Tory government anti-gay legislation. And although they are still discriminated against to some extent, it's really the people who are now in the front line really are the trans community. So, you know, I'm aware that I need to be more, you know, when I'm going through the day, you know, I'm you know, just buying a paper in a shop, not just to say thanks, mate, to everybody, because I first need to look at this person and try and work out if they're possibly they might be a non-binary person. So I could just say to them, thanks very much. You know, I don't need to gender them in any way particularly. I am of that generation that says thanks, mate, or, you know, excuse me, love, and them kind of things. So I'm just have to rethink that. I'm having to recalibrate that, and I'm cool with that. I mean, some people seem to think this is, you know, a terrible thing that they have to do, that they're being oppressed and forced into. But it's not really. It's only being respectful. I'm saying, mate, in order to, you know, be, you know, some kind of connection with that person. So to, you know, I'm not, the fact that I'm not using those phrases doesn't mean I'm any less connected with that person. It's just I'm being a bit more respectful, and that's what all people want, is a bit of respect for who they are. So the song is really about all, you know, particularly those of us who are older, having to, you know, recognise that we need to adjust our ideas. Somebody emailed me, a trans person who had come to the gig, and was very pleased because when I spoke about those lyrics in the song, there was a lot of applause in the room. And this person said it was great to hear that from a 1980s crowd. And I totally understood what they were saying, because it was exactly what I was trying to get at in my song. That we are an older generation now, and we can't take for granted that what was our politics is going to be everybody's politics forever. Things move on. Each generation has to remake the world in a way that, you know, reflects their sensibilities. So it's a challenge. I wrote that song really to challenge other people of my generation and to put down, that I understand that I don't live up to the high standards that I have for myself sometimes, that I fail, but we all do that. We're all full of contradictions, but it's the making the effort. I mean, I don't wish to make a pony comparison, but it's like you go to France and you try and speak a little bit of French, and they respect you for making the effort. You don't have to speak the entire language, but you speak a little bit, and they're like, okay, you've tried at least. And we should be, all of us, particularly people of my generation.
I love the comparison.
Yeah.
Honestly, Billy, it's so refreshing. I can literally see the questions coming in, and I know that people are eager to get theirs answered. So here we go. Erica Langus Sarong says on Billy's page, which song on the new album was the most personal to you and why?
Oh, definitely, I'll Be Your Shield, because Juliet suffering during the lockdown completely. Maybe that's why it means so much to me, that people are getting it on stage.
Garrett Lorenzen says on Billy's page, I loved the Rock Island Line documentary. Any more coming?
I would love to make more documentaries. I'm always interested in doing a little bit of that. Anything that stretches you a bit, whether it's writing a book or doing a documentary, making a podcast. It's not boring being a pop star. I love it, but it's kind of like album tour. You need something after doing it as long as I've been doing it, 35 odd years. To do something else is always exciting.
Clive Fain on Billy's page also says, what inspires you to update songs like Waiting for the Great Leap Forward?
Well, I'm aware that they're very much a snapshot of time, a particular time, and tweaking them. I like to tweak them a bit for it entertains my audience. I'm trying to entertain people as well as make them think and make them smile. But sometimes I completely change the entire lyrics, which I know annoys them sometimes. So what I'm currently doing, because there's so many new songs in the set, I am playing Great Leap Forward, but I'm just tweaking the odd word. So you get most of the song, but some of the payoff lines are ever so slightly different. It's just a little tweak, but I can overdo it. I'm aware of that. So I'm trying to rein that in at the moment.
Adrian Cannon on Billy's page says, hey Bill, as COP26 is happening, what's your favourite song for the environment?
Oh, I think it'll be a song by Jackson Browne called After the Deluge, which is a really, really great song, which he wrote actually in the 1970s, I think. But yeah, it's my go-to environmental song.
Mark Griggs on Billy's page says, Billy, how's it going to feel to be back on the road next year, finishing the European leg of the tour you started 2 years ago?
Yeah, I know. He's talking about the 3-night shows that I was doing, where I was doing the first night is my usual set, If I Came to Your City. Then the second show is only tracks from my first 3 records. And the last show is only songs from my second 3 records. It's a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. But I've not only got the European tour to do, I've got an entire Australian and New Zealand tour, which has been postponed twice already, from 2020 and 2021. That's hopefully, fingers and everything crossed, going to happen in January of next year. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I enjoy doing those shows anyway. So it's nice to know they're not finished, because I really, technically I should have moved on that to the new album thing. But the people in Australia and Europe are going to get both. They're going to get the album set that I'm doing now, plus the 2 retro sets. So yeah, it should be fun.
Jane Fitzgerald says, do you think upcoming bands are political enough in their lyrics? Do you think musicians have a responsibility to be political when writing?
I think they have responsibility to reflect the world. I think times are different from how they were when I was making music, when things were much more ideological. So I'm looking for bands that talk about the pressures they feel under, rather than capital P political like me. They talk about the pressures of growing up. Sam Fender's new record will be a good example of that. I think he touches on a number of subjects there. So it's Grace Petrie, people like that. They are writing political songs, but it's the different context from when I was writing political songs. So I don't wish to judge them by the same parameters that I was working under.
Would you ever collaborate with someone like Sam Fender?
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. I'm always up for a bit of that. It's always interesting to try and write with someone else and see where they're coming from. when I've collaborated with people before, with Wilco on Nomad Avenue Records, it was great fun. Again, it's something outside the box. I'm always up for that.
If someone was listening to the album for the first time, what would you want them to take away from it, if anything?
I think I want them to take away that that there is a common good, I suppose, is the idea I talk about. That there is something that we all work together to do. And in terms of the pandemic, it's obviously to get us through and to get to a situation where everybody can go back to some semblance of normality. And by everybody, I don't just mean you and your mates. I mean those tens of thousands of people who are currently unable to participate because they are immune compromised. And they can't go out because, I'm saying this, some people won't wear a mask in Morrison's. And I'm really sorry about that, because I think, we owe it to each other to mask up and try and suppress this to the extent that people, the immunocompromised, do feel confident. They're the people who have my solidarity, rather than these people who say that having to show your vaccine status to get into a gig is the kind of apartheid. I think, frankly, that's a shameful comparison, given what apartheid really was.
Well, Billy, thank you so much for joining us, taking time out in your tour schedule as well. I'm so jealous that you're heading to Australia early next year.
Fingers crossed.
Hopefully it all goes to plan. And have an amazing time with the rest of the tour. Thank you so much. If you haven't already got yourself a copy of The Million Things That Never Happened, then obviously you need to get involved. You need to order it from your local record store. I'm also excited to announce that the winner of this week's Powers & Wilkins Wireless Headphones Prize is Garrett Lorenzen. So you need to slide into the Record Club's DMs and we'll get those headphones to you. Thank you so much for joining us and sending in your questions. Our next guest is going to be announced on the Record Club's social media very soon, so make sure you're following us. Plus, all previous episodes are available to watch back on our YouTube channel. Billy Bragg, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Jess, and thank you everybody for the questions. It's really, really great talking to you tonight.